When I was 15, my family moved into an old two-story house on Maple Street. It wasn't special. Peeling paint, a sagging porch, and windows that looked like tired eyes. My parents got it cheap because the previous owner died in the living room. Natural causes, they said. I didn't care. I was just excited because I finally had the entire basement bedroom to myself. If only I knew the basement wasn't empty. The first few weeks were normal. School, unpacking, pretending everything was fine. Then the knocking started. It was a soft, slow thud, thud, thud. It happened every night at exactly 2:47 a.m. Not earlier, not later, like whatever was doing it had a schedule. At first, I thought it was the pipes. Old houses make noises, right? But the knock wasn't random. It was 3 slow, spaced out knocks from directly inside the wall behind my headboard. Like someone was standing right behind me, just separated by a few inches of wood and drywall. I started keeping my phone on record every night, and the pattern stayed identical. 3 knocks, always at 2:47. I told my mom. She laughed and said, "Sweetheart, old houses creak." My dad rolled his eyes, grabbed a hammer, banged on the wall and yelled, "Knock it off!" When he shouted that, something answered. 3 loud knocks the second he finished yelling. Not delayed, not hesitant, as if whatever was inside the wall had been listening. My dad went pale. He said nothing, and the knocking stopped, but only for 2 nights. After a week, I was sleep deprived. Every night, the knocking got louder. Sometimes it sounded like fingernails scraping behind the wall, sometimes like someone clawing for a way out. I finally dragged my mattress into the laundry room across the basement. The first night there, silence. I felt relieved, but on the second night, 2:47 a.m. But this time, it was coming from the ceiling directly above the washing machine. The thing had followed me. I stared up and listened, and after the knocks came breathing, deep, heavy breathing, muffled through wood, but unmistakable. I couldn't take it anymore. The next afternoon, I grabbed a screwdriver and went back to my original bedroom. I started tearing the drywall off the wall behind my bed. Dust filled the air. Insulation spilled out. My hands were shaking. And then, I found it. A small wooden door, maybe 2 feet tall, hidden behind the insulation. It wasn't on any floor plan. There were no hinges on the outside. It was like whoever built it didn't want anyone to find it. The knob was ice cold. Not basement cold, freezer cold. When I turned it, the latch clicked instantly. It wasn't locked. Inside was a narrow crawl space. The smell hit me first. Damp, rotten, like soil mixed with something metallic. The space was so tight I had to crouch down. At the very back of the crawl space was the foundation wall, and on it, etched dozens, no, hundreds of times, "Let me out before I let myself out." The words were carved deep. Some letters still had dried, dark flakes in the grooves. Fingernails. Skin. I backed out so fast I hit my head on the low ceiling. My heart was pounding. I slammed the little door, nailed the drywall back up, and for the first time since moving there, I was afraid to sleep anywhere in the house. That night, I stayed upstairs in the living room. I didn't tell my parents what I saw. They wouldn't believe me. But at 2:47 a.m., even upstairs, the sound came from the basement door. I froze. Then, after the knocks, came a whisper so faint I almost convinced myself it was my imagination. "Let me out." I held my breath. The whisper came again, clearer, closer. "Let me out. I'm still here." The doorknob to the basement turned. Slowly, softly, but it didn't open. Something was holding it from the other side. 2 days later, I gathered the courage to research the house. The library had old property records. Turns out the previous owner didn't die in the living. He was found in the crawl space behind the basement wall. Authorities said he had been down there for days before he took his own life. But there was no explanation for how the door was locked from the outside, or how he scratched those messages into solid foundation, or why every owner after him moved out within months. We moved 6 months later. The very last night, as we loaded boxes into the truck, I heard it one final time. From the basement window, 3 slow knocks, then a handprint appeared on the glass. A handprint from the inside. The new owners didn't last 3 weeks. Now the house is empty again. But people say if you drive past Maple Street late at night, stop your car, turn off your engine, wait until 2:47 a.m. You'll hear it too. And if you look at the basement window, you might see the handprint fade into existence. Slowly, like someone inside is still trying, desperately, to get out.